Kia ora, I'm Robyn from Robyn and Greg Take On, and as I said in my last video, these will be a series of videos about immigrating to New Zealand. So in this video, the first thing I want to tell you is that if you're interested in immigrating to New Zealand, your first stop is immigration.co.nz, or NZ if you're from the US. They say Z instead of Z here in New Zealand. So that's the first thing I want to tell everyone, is that we could not have done this without that website's information. It was fantastic. It had all of the information for whether you're on the skilled shortage list, which means you get higher points for a visa, or even cultural information. It has so much information. And that's how I found my job. And I can't remember how my husband found his job, but first of all, I will say I'm a clinical psychologist. My husband is a mechanical engineer. And so we were both on the skilled shortage list. What a skilled shortage list is it is a list of careers that are in very high demand, that there's not enough people in New Zealand to fill the roles. And so your skill is very needed. And you're put on the short list, meaning that you get a visa much easier than if you're not on the skilled shortage list. So that's the first thing, is to look and see if your skill is possibly on the skilled shortage list. If it is, fantastic, you're pretty much guaranteed a visa. The next thing you do is you can fill out on the website the points quiz. So basically you get so many points based on your years of experience, what your skill is, do you have family in New Zealand? Oh, I can't remember everything, but basically that will tell you where your points sit and whether you are high enough to get a visa. The first thing I want to say is, if you don't have enough points, that doesn't mean that you won't get a visa. It just means it'll be a slower process for you. I'm not going to go into that a whole lot because you can find that information on the website really easily. And like I said, it's incredibly helpful. Again, that's how I found my job. I went to the website and there was a place to sign up for work alerts. And so I did that, and that's how I found my job, working in a hospital, a county's hospital here in New Zealand. What I will say is that my husband and I had started looking about 6 years ago to immigrate to New Zealand. Our reason for wanting to immigrate to New Zealand is that we are both big into adventures. So we scuba dive, we hike, we climb mountains, we kayak, we surf, we snowboard. We're not great at any of these things, but we just love doing them, and that's what we live for. That's what we find to be the most important thing in life, is adventure. So we're better than New Zealand to have adventures. It's the adventure capital of the world. And we'd also heard that the people were really friendly, that the work-life balance was incredible. I mean, I'd never heard a bad thing from anyone who had visited New Zealand. So we had never been prior to immigrating. And one of our life goals was to live out of the country. New Zealand ended up being really easy because of our careers, and because it was skilled shortage, and because the primary language, there's two primary languages here. It's English and Te Reo, which is the Maori language. Yeah, so that was it was going to be a much easier process than, say, trying to move to France or trying to move to Italy or somewhere else where the primary language is not English. So that was one of our big reasons for moving to New Zealand. 5-6 years ago, we weren't able to really find much work there. I don't know, the jobs I was seeing weren't what I wanted. I have worked in the prison system in the US, and I did not want to go back into that. I have a very wide background, but my passion in life is working with people who are medically ill and working with people who are maybe terminally ill. That was really my goal, was to find a job in a medical setting, not in the prison system. So 6 years ago, that was all I could find, was stuff in the prison system. I didn't want to immigrate to a new country and take a job that I didn't want. We waited, and then about 6 years later, again, this video is personal, so it's not meant to offend anyone, but when it looked like Trump was going to be elected, we seriously reconsidered New Zealand because that was a stressful experience and it was also affecting our jobs. And so the other thing was we were incredibly stressed with our careers. We were both working very long hours. I was sick all the time. My husband was working, 60, 70-hour weeks. When we did get out to do adventures, we were so exhausted we could barely enjoy it. We just had it. We were making good money, but the money wasn't worth it. We wanted a better quality of life. And so we sat down and decided to give up some of the comforts of life to move to New Zealand, which I'll talk about in another video. I think for now that's a good first video. If you're interested in moving to New Zealand, your first stop is immigration.co.nz or NZ, okay? And I will shoot the next video and talk a little bit more about the moving process. Okay, stay tuned.